analyzing the left's irrational phobia of Tommy Robinson. Now, seriously, Tommy Robinson is just an average person. He's not a king. He is not a president. He is not some kind of mad military general that's going off throwing bombs or anything. He's just a person. A sort of activist, I don't know, journalist, goes around talking and spends most of his time trying to debunk the lies told about him by the mainstream media. So, why is the left so terrified of him? I mean, he's not the only person that tells the truth. Do you see people flipping out about, like I said, the American, like Rush Limbaugh or something? He's been around since I was a little kid. Do you see people flipping out about him and acting like his presence is so frightening? Or Sean Hannity or any of the other, you know, commentators? I mean, maybe that's more common over in the UK than it is in the US. But, of course, the US, I mean, the left does flip out when they see Ben Shapiro or Milo Yiannopoulos. They do tend to flip out about that. But like I said, ultimately, I guess they're afraid of the truth. They're afraid of being wrong. And like I said, it's just sort of, these prejudices are sort of ingrained in them. They're with the use of fake news and tribalism and, you know, inequality. The left is always advocating for inequality, and that is a very dangerous precedent to set. Because what's going to happen is the people you are playing favorites. I mean, did they ever hear the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors? And how the father favored Joseph and the brothers wanted to kill him and eventually sold him into slavery? So you see, this is why you don't play favorites. You don't play favorites. But the left doesn't learn from the past. They don't learn from literature. They don't learn from anything. They are extremely short-sighted. Their political gains depend upon advocating for inequality of races and lifestyles. It depends on advocating for inequality. And that is a recipe for disaster. The left is just so clueless. And they just keep on heading toward destruction. And as I was pointing out in a previous video, the whole hysteria about Tommy Robinson is ridiculous. It's a big nothing burger. I mean, his arrests were for petty crimes. They're stupid things. I mean, fighting, standing in the wrong spot, going to down the wrong street. They're nothing. It's not like he's a mass murderer. It's not like he's somebody who's a hardened criminal, serial rapist. I mean, the fears are ridiculous. You're going to take apart these fears. I mean, yeah. I guess it goes back to the left being so terrified of speech. So they're terrified of words. They think words are violence, and that's why. How did we ever get to this point? I mean, our ancestors, they really suffered hard times. I mean, all over the world. And now we're so weak and so namby-pamby that we can't even say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. We can't even do that. So we've got to blame the public education system for this. We've got to blame something to cause these irrational, namby-pamby fears of conversation. But I'm saying there's lots of people who are in positions of power. I mean, if people want to fear somebody, fear heads of countries, fear military leaders, fear that they'll decide to conquest the world or something. But I mean, seriously, Tommy Robinson? You think he's gonna become a one-man army or something? Come on. But the bottom line, the left suffers from phobias. Irrational fears with no basis. That's what a phobia is. We will be generous and say that the local UK police may not all be bad. The problem is that their superiors have told them to stand down and not make arrests and not enforce the law. based on intersectionality and race. And the local police, if their superiors are not going to back them up or send them reinforcements, then their hands are sort of tied. So this is a systemic problem in the UK, that left-wing politics is preventing the law from being applied equally and protecting all citizens. The politicians are especially threatened by Tommy Robinson because they have been guilty of covering up, for the rape gangs and the pedophilia for years. So, if people listen to Tommy Robinson and start to take action, those politicians are going to be headed for prison for the rest of their lives. They're going to lose everything, but everything. And that's why they are going after Tommy with such a fierce vengeance, because they're fighting to stay out of jail. They're fighting for their finances. The mainstream media does not have as much to lose as the politicians and the law enforcement officials who have been negligent for years, criminally negligent, in protecting the children of England. However, the mainstream media likes to be on the good side of the politicians, and add to that the left-wing political ideology. It plays right into their hands to make Tommy into the villain. And also it gives them more rage bait, it gives them more clicks. It helps the media sell more magazines and newspapers and get them to watch more videos. The mainstream media then launches a fake news campaign to whip up rage in tribalistic people, and people who are not patriotic and for equal justice for all, but are protecting their group and their tribe. These people are obviously very gullible because they do not care about facts. Based on fake news and lies, these tribalistic people are whipped up into a vicious rage, and that is where we get all the anti-Tommy Robinson trolls and the anti-Tommy Robinson gangs out there. So we have the politicians and the law enforcement members fighting to stay out of jail and fighting to keep their money. We have the mainstream media, who is left-wing and who wants to drive traffic and make rage bait. And then finally we have the average citizens who just listen to the lies of the mainstream media and are whipped up into rage. And they are making their whole case against Tommy based on fake news and lies, and they haven't taken the time to discover what is true. So the bottom line is, the fears of Tommy Robinson were brought on by the fake news media and the lies and the smears. And like I said, part of his campaign, he's going around and trying to make people explain things, and they can't explain things. And the fact is that the accusations against him are groundless, and they're just dumb. And people who believe the mainstream media need to start thinking for themselves. So, alrighty. Let freedom ring.